This year's been more evolution than revolution, as there are only a couple of structural updates and really no gear additions since my last setup tour. Last year's setup tour is linked in the description so you can see the difference. The biggest set of changes were actually the removal of gear as opposed to new additions. The person I was storing stuff for was able to take that back as he moved to a place where he could actually use his gear. So the first change was to remove the full-size rack and found a home in my wife's office, since there was less stuff to put into it. The other reason was that the rack ended up being far enough away that it was actually difficult to reach from my chair. So getting to the gear in the rack was quite awkward. Lately I've taken Avid Savage's first order retrieval to heart, which means I wanted to get the core tools within reach and minimize moving those things in order to get to other things. I'll leave a link in the description to see the video on it. However, the real catalyst for the change was seeing an Argosy Halo desk on another YouTuber channel, which are both linked in the description. The idea was planted for the desk with a rack at arm's length. It turns out though that those types of desks are expensive. So I built a set of DIY racks to hold the gear, and it gave me a new spot for studio monitors. The racks were wide enough that it resulted in me needing more space so that they would actually be on the desk. It was a bit of work, but I really liked the result. I'll try to do a SketchUp plan for those in the future. A nice side effect of the extra space necessary to hold the rack was that I was able to organize things better with a couple of shelves, the addition of a repurposed drawer unit for a bunch of my electronic components, as well as a spot above the floor for my PC. I got a stand for my soldering iron, but the cord makes it hard to actually store the iron itself, and a self-healing cutting mat. These are little things, but once again help give me access to the most important things without getting out of my chair to hunt the items down. The other big change is that I went with a stacked monitor setup so that it would both fit in between the racks and work better for my workflow. I was finding that I did not play games across both screens ever, and even with my DAW, having the plug-in to the side was actually awkward. Now I can still have the game in full screen on the bottom panel, which allows me to view other things like chat above. For the DAW, I find myself putting plugins in the window above or the panel above and having the lanes below. For the remainder of the office, I moved my power amp into the closet and pulled my grandma's travel trunk, which was used to move her from Scotland to the US back in the day, out of the closet and under the window. This gives me better access to things I don't use all the time, but still use fairly often, like extra cables. The placement also gives it a visible spot in my office. Lately, I put a small bookshelf behind me to both display books and to give it a different type of sound dampening. I'm still working on accents like RGB lighting and some more displays of my collectibles. Of course, getting organized allows me to have space for more gear depending on funds. So there you go. That is my setup going into the new year for my creative endeavors. Take it easy, everyone.